What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Chuggy from Shook Earth Media, and today we're taking a look at The Walking Dead final season. It's finally kicking in that there are only 3 episodes left, and I'm only just starting to realize this, and it's gonna be sad. I'm gonna miss it when it's gone, but I'm really enjoying this final part of the last 8 episodes. It's been really great, so we got yet another one here, and we're converging all the storylines into one big climactic confrontation at the end. So that's where we're building towards. We get some hints of the CRM. We get some hints of the big story that's going to continue on after the show is over. And we got the spinoffs coming up, of course. So it's a really big episode, a lot to break down, so I'm really excited to get into it. And if you are also a fan of this final season, please hit the sub button and comment down below with your opinions and the like button and all that. It really helps with the algorithm. And before we get into the video, guys, I just want to let you know I will be live streaming after the final episode. We're basically going to do what I do normally here with the breakdowns, except we're going to do it live for you guys. It airs at 9 p.m. on Sunday, November 20th. So I will see you guys after the show at probably like 10:15-ish. We'll do my review. We'll discuss the episode. We'll discuss the spinoffs coming up and just give a state of the Walking Dead franchise. And I hope to see you guys there. It'll be a lot of fun. Like I said, it's a big episode. I'm really satisfied with what's going on. And we start off with the montage from previous seasons of moments where their backs were against the wall. Really climactic moments similar to what we're seeing in this episode. So keeping that same energy with the voiceover montage at the beginning as usual. And then we pick up right where we left off last episode with the convoy leading God knows where, except now we do know where. They're going to a prison camp to do essentially slave labor for defying the Miltons, basically. So it's a really high stakes situation, and I'm enjoying this as a fan of the comics because none of this stuff happened in the comics. So I have no idea what's coming up in the ending based on what I've read. So I'm really excited for this part of the storyline, and I like that we pick up right where we left off. And we start with a breakout scene. Now, here we're going to get into a little bit of my normal nitpicking, what you might expect if you see this channel a lot. A lot of convenient things happen here, and it's not any one of the things would be something that I would bother mentioning, because one convenient thing, sure, you can buy into it. But a bunch of these things lined up, not so much. But it's a convenient thing. The bag falls off right at the same time that... Did she get stuck with the sedative too? They're in a different truck than the bus that we saw, so maybe they didn't get the sedative, but apparently the guard in the truck with them did get the sedative because he happens to be asleep. So you see, it's like 3 things that just so happen to happen all at the same time. So it's a bit, right away I'm like, but you know, I like the breakout scene and all that. So you know, ultimately I'm still like on board with it, and I like the dynamic of having a few characters escape. Most of them are still there, and you know, have the characters that escape converge with Daryl and Carol, who we know are in the area, and I like converging all of this so that we have a fighting chance, you know. But it does make the CRM guy look a little dumb when they're in their scuffle. And then he starts shooting, and then he shoots the guy who's driving. So that makes him look a little dumb, which is funny. Of course, you know, Gabriel and Rosita jump off the truck, and then Maggie has a final showdown with the guy, and so she gets off at a different point. So they're not together, and we see how they converge later in the episode. So I also want to point out that at this point, it's a bit of a habit in the show to have characters get surviving car crashes. We had Daryl, of course, crashing head-on into a Commonwealth car to save Negan. So we had that. Now we have Maggie surviving this. So it's another recurring theme, another convenient thing you have to take into account. One minor thing I'm going to notice is the change of time of day when we see them next. That last shot there is just, I believe, Maggie running into the woods. But, of course, we get a lot of things where the teaser scene has nighttime, and then right away it's daytime. It's unclear how much time has passed. It feels like all the time we're right at like 4 a.m. It's like an hour before sunrise. But here, it doesn't look like early morning to me. It looks like, mid-morning, 10 a.m. or something, 9 or 10 a.m. So this is me overthinking it again, but I'm just like, you lose timing. I would have rather just stayed at night, but maybe they have their reasons production wise why they want to do that. So, no hate to them. It's just a thing. It's a recurring trend, not worth mentioning on a one-off. But I like these scenes with Gabriel and Rosita working together. They basically collaborate to take down that zombie. So teamwork, you love to see it. And they get a radio. The radios are important, keeping track of who has a radio and when, and we're listening in on the Commonwealth's communications. You would think that this is another thing where I'm thinking a little too deep into the Commonwealth side of things, where I'm thinking about they would know if they misplaced a radio or somebody died and their radio wasn't there. They would know, okay, we got to switch channels, right? Or something like that. They would have some sort of protocol to prevent their stuff being heard, but let's just pretend, okay, never mind. Let's just forget about that for a second. But because I do like them being a step ahead and the plans that they come up with in this episode, sabotaging train tracks and stuff like that. So it's very crucial to have the radio in there. So maybe they haven't caught up that those people died yet. So we'll buy into that. And then they all get woken up by some loud banging sound. They seem to be alone in the bus right now. It's locked in, and the Commonwealth guys enter. So we have a little bit of them taking the bags off and realizing what's going on. One thing I'll notice is that Negan is right next to his wife. And this is just like me, again, thinking a little too deep into the Commonwealth thing. And you wouldn't want to sit them next to each other. That's just a fact. The Commonwealth would be aware of their relationship, I think, even though they don't know Negan. They know you're telling me that they know the relationship between them and they sat them next to each other. If they're trying to do this whole nameless thing, they're like, we don't talk to each other by our names, trying to separate each other and all that so that they stay in control. They wouldn't sit them next to each other. So there's little things like that. This also applies to Gabriel and Rosita in the next truck. Of course, they wouldn't want to seat them together, and they would know their history given the extensive interview process. So that doesn't make a lot of sense, but I can look past it. You feel the oppressive prison movie vibes. So I like what's going on here with the prison guard guy. The nameless thing, I think, was a nice shout out to the Whisperers. And also, I thought it was kind of funny, like, Negan looked at him, because I was like, he kind of stole his idea, because, his thing was everybody's Negan, right? So, but in some ways, it's the opposite. But I like that little shout-out. But again, you would think that they would, so they're going to designate them numbers, because there are times where you have to distinguish individuals in a crowd by voice, without pointing at them or something, or get their attention. You're going to need something to call them. So they're going to start calling them numbers, I guess. See, if they went a little deeper into that would have been cool. Now, here's a scene I love this scene. And it's a subtle scene, but it pays off in a big way. We have a kid zombie, and these are like scenes that are so key to The Walking Dead. You got to bring back the fact that, of course, zombies were people at one point. Bring a little bit of that humanity back. That's what we got from the end of the pilot episode. It was such a key moment at the end with killing the bicycle girl. So we bring a little bit of that energy back, and we got Maggie basically freaking out because of that she doesn't know where her son is or what the fate is of her son. So that is one of the themes here. But I like how she can't kill the kid zombie, and then it comes back to bite her. Not literally, figuratively bite her later. So based on this episode, I think it's pretty clear that the spinoff with Maggie and Negan are going to be about finding their loved ones. It's going to be about finding Maggie's son. I doubt he's going to show up for the rest of the season. and same with Negan's wife. And they're going to be chasing down information on where they went on the train. So New York, of course, we know that that's CRM territory. So I think that's pretty clear. That's what that spinoff is going to be about. And then here we got a scene with Gabriel and Rosita where Rosita's like, let's split up to cover more ground. Why would you ever do that? I mean, do they, even if they both had the Commonwealth's radio, you're using the radio to spy on the Commonwealth right now. You don't want to be communicating on that. So they would have no way of getting in touch with each other if situation right. Nothing would be helped by them splitting up. But I do like that Gabriel's like, no, I'm not leaving you, etc. Because, you know, it would be weird if he did. So, you know, that's a scene I like. But I have to nitpick a little bit, of course. And then we get a weird scene where zombies just appear out of nowhere. And here I was like, here's a point where you can make it make sense with the variants. Now that that's in the scenario, you could have the variants sneak up on them and do something smart and unexpected. But no, like, I have trouble believing that the survivors at this point, and they do this on Fear, they do this on a lot of shows, on a lot of the Walking Dead shows now, where, you know, the zombies are just waiting off camera, even though in reality you would hear them coming, you know, and these are seasoned survivors, they would know. Them getting, the zombies getting the jump on them only works if they were variants, and that's a very good opportunity. Now that we have that as a plot line, you might as well use that, you know, I would. So, yeah, that whole scenario, but them having to pop her arm back in place and all that, like, that's all good, and I really like the, there's, again, more references to the past, so, talking about, how Rosita's stop bitching and just keep going and stuff like that, I love that line, so, you know, there's good and bad, but these nitpicking things, it doesn't really hurt my enjoyment of the episode, so I'm still giving it a positive review. Don't get mad at me in the comments. And here we're back with Carol and Daryl, and they're looking over trains, and I gotta say that I like bringing trains back into it. I kind of forgot to mention this before, but trains have been a recurring motif in the Walking Dead show. Of course, we had the Terminus storyline, and the A or B designation comes back in this episode in the form of designation 1 or 2. We'll get back to that in a second. But I like picking up with Daryl and Carol, and they're the ones investigating. They're the ones with the plan. They're kind of driving things forward. Of course, Carol has the propensity to break people out of situations. So I'm liking how Carol and Daryl are the driving forces behind this resistance, you could say. It's perfect, and I love to see it. So, of course, we see Connie being shipped off to the Commonwealth, is my opinion. They're talking on the radio about Designation 1 or 2. Designation 1 is the prison camp that most of our cast is at. Designation 2 is left a little ambiguous, but they're sent far away. We don't know where, and it's the CRM. It just straight up is the CRM. And I'm very curious more about that. But it has to be. There's no other thing it could be as far as I'm concerned. So I think the audience is a step ahead of the characters at this point because we've seen the bigger glimpse of this world. Of course, they don't even know what happened to Rick. So all of that really fits. And here's a really good dialogue scene. Again, bringing in the past. And it's really important in these final episodes. I made sure to have multiple dialogue scenes that bring up things that happened earlier. And here is where Carol basically brings up the cave situation and losing Connie in the cave. And it was also the first thing I thought, too. So, you know, they know their audience well to know that we're going to think about that situation when this happens. So bringing that up in dialogue is really smart. But I like how Carol's like, we need to have a plan. We can't just go run and gun. We need to do something smart. So I really love that dialogue scene. And here we got a fun Maggie scene. And like I said, this is the payoff where the zombie that she couldn't kill earlier happens to be in the area. And this guy who otherwise would have just kept going has to stay. And she makes an attack as the Commonwealth guy is going to shoot the zombie. She takes him out. Now, of course, you know, again, I'm like, it's very convenient that they happen to be in the same place at the same time. These are again, if it was a one-off thing and there wasn't all the stuff earlier, I wouldn't point it out. But so it's just one of those things for me. It's a pet peeve. We always point it out. But I like that she couldn't kill this zombie, and it seems like she's bothered a little bit more than we might expect, or that she lets on. Of course, you would expect a mother to be distraught about this situation, but Maggie's somebody who's usually a bit more like focused, but here she is not. She's at her breaking point, basically. So she doesn't even, like, when Carol and Daryl drive up, she would have no means of knowing that they were there. So I really think that she should be jumping out of the way, but she's so distraught that she is just frozen and stuck in place. So we don't really see her frozen and stuck like that. I can't really remember, not in a long time at least, have we seen something like that from her. So one subtle thing I noticed I want to point out real quick is that I appreciate that this scene took place at train tracks. Of course, they have a plot reason for the Commonwealth soldier guy to be at that point, but symbolically, the train tracks represented hope to Maggie at a key point when she was trying to meet up with Glenn again after the prison. Terminus was that point where they got to meet up again, and of course that went awry, but you'll notice now that Maggie's not walking on the tracks. She's walking perpendicular to the tracks, and she's like walking away from that hope. So I appreciate that detail as well. Some interesting character development, and we go a little bit deeper into it in this next scene. But my issue with this scene, I get the emotional resonance, and again, they're bringing in the past and stuff. But my point is that we already saw all the information as far as how much Maggie is bothered by the situation. We already saw that in the previous scene. This is kind of just like telling as opposed to showing, in my opinion. So if it was me, I would say this scene is on the chopping block as far as like stuff we could cut. Just because basically the previous scene was already, we got all that information in a more powerful and engaging way. But we have the emotional connection. I get it. I don't hate the scene. I'm just saying I think it would be better if it wasn't there. And then Gabriel and Rosita show up, of course, right on time. Another coincidence to add to the pile. Of course, we know they're in the same general vicinity, so it makes certain degree of sense, but you got to add it to the list if we're keeping track of all the coincidences. I like how we have multiple torture scenes in this episode, but each one ends differently. So I think it's really smart here. And bringing in Gabriel in this one scene, Daryl is just willing to take this guy out. He doesn't care. But Gabriel comes in with compassion and uses his role as the priest to really get through to this guy, because this guy was he was one of his parishioners. So this guy carries a lot of guilt, and he had a lot he wanted to get off his chest. Gabriel saw through him enough to know that this guy had things he wanted to say to a priest, but just wasn't able to work up the nerve. And now this is the moment. And I love that, he basically treats him as he's the voice of mercy in this situation, which to me is like if you have a priest character, that's the expectation you have. They went a little bit further with him, making him a bit more aggressive and stuff, and I get adding a bit of that energy, but I'm happy to see Gabriel be the voice of mercy in this situation, and to try to like really help this guy, spiritually speaking, at the end. So he gets through to him and convinces him that in his last act he can help everybody else, basically recognizing that even the soldiers know that what they're doing is wrong. So at the end of the day, we're gonna tie this into the rebellion storyline, maybe. I mean, once the word gets out, Connie, of course, was gonna be shipped off to CRM because she's bad news. Like, Pamela does not want information freely flowing in this world because it doesn't help her. So, she's a corrupt politician at the end of the day, but we're getting a little sidetracked. So I really like that scene. I thought it was a powerful scene. It was good. And here we're at the work camp. Kelly's got a little bit of hope, and the hope is that they can all escape. She thinks that we can escape now, and other people escape instead, and they get shot. And I love painting that oppressive picture, and having Kelly break down at the end of the episode, 'cause she's always been like a hopeful character. So I think doing that with her is really smart in this final arc here. So here we're at this juncture where the switch won't flip. There's a thing that switches the train tracks, and it won't flip. I in the back of my, of course, it's sabotaged by our group. We get an intense shootout here. A lot of the shootout, it's a lot of ducking in and out of cover. So, some of those scenes weren't as satisfying, but I really like in general what's going on. So I like that we're already starting to fight back, but it still feels like a huge task. And I'm sure the next episode is going to give us kind of a dark night of the soul where our group fails to free everybody or something. That's just a prediction. And of course, we got Daryl on a bike again. So he's got a new bike. It's Commonwealth logo and everything. He chases after this guy, and then they bring him back. And the dead body helps this group yet again by just basically getting straight to the point with this guy. And he lets out all the information that he knows. And here I like the scenes with Connie and Daryl trying to, I think, rekindle that relationship a bit. It kind of got put on the back burner. It was something we thought was going to happen for a second and then didn't. And now it seems like maybe they want us to think it might happen. So I'm curious to see what happens with that. But I like their chemistry. And then this part is really intense. Like, I did not expect this. The guy who, he says the Commonwealth will kill my family if they find out that I gave you guys all this information. So he does himself in with a screwdriver. It's a brutal scene. Again, painting the very brutal picture of how ruthless the Commonwealth is. So really setting them up as these terrible villains. And they went a lot farther with the Commonwealth than the comic did. They never did anything this corrupt. Like, there's corruption, but it was like a lot closer to what we see in today's world than what we see in this show here. So I'm actually liking it. It's different, and I'm curious to see where it goes. And I really, really, really like the scene with Ezekiel and Negan. Again, tying in the past, Ezekiel's talking about how he avoided Negan for years. Of course, he avoided them. He avoided the Saviors before we even knew the Saviors. So I really like tying in the whole history. And Ezekiel says that all the messed up stuff that Negan has done. Of course, the brutal melting people's faces with irons, the taking people's wives and whatnot, and all the messed up stuff and killing people. So, but Negan seems ready here to, he wants to sacrifice himself so that people can escape, so that his wife and future child are going to be okay. That's what he cares about right now. And he's got a bruise on his face because we skipped past the scene earlier where he asked about his wife's whereabouts and he got smacked in the face for it. So, again, just establishing how inhumane and terrible the Commonwealth is. So, that's what we're setting up here. And I like that Negan wants to kind of redeem himself by being willing to take the fall at the end. And I love the aspect that Negan says, we need hope for this to work. Fear is not going to do it. We need hope, and that's what Ezekiel is good at. And I absolutely, this is one of the best scenes of the episode. Makes me really excited for the final 3, because I really want to see how this, because it's not going to go off exactly perfectly, right? It's going to fail, and then we think it's going to fail, and then maybe it does fail, and then maybe they escape at the end. Who knows? I'm very curious. I think that we're going to break out of that prison camp possibly in the next episode or the episode after. I don't see us going into the finale with them still in that prison camp. I just don't see it. Okay, so here at the end of the episode, it looks like the Commonwealth has changed their mind about something. They're packing everybody up. It does feel like they just got here, so I don't know why. Maybe it's because some of them are missing right now that they're decided to change their approach. We'll find out next episode what's really going on. Our group, they reestablished radio communication. They took out an antenna before, but now they getting information. They're pretending to be one of the Commonwealth soldiers, and they find out that our crew has been taken to Outpost 22, which is the new name for Alexandria. So they took everybody back from the prison camp to Alexandria, which, I mean, it can't be a good thing because they already had them in the worst situation. Reprocessing means we're reevaluating who's going to the CRM and who isn't. I have no idea why. I will have to wait until next week. I can't even speculate about why they would take him out of the prison camp, other than maybe just the fact that they thought the other people being loose might be a danger. So I'm really curious. I mean, this doorway here looks really awesome, so I think that's cool. And I like that we're back in a familiar setting, and I'm surprised we're still doing the storyline. We have to take our homes back, but I guess that's what we're ending with. We got to fight back against the Commonwealth and take back our home. So it's very different than the comic book already, because of course we joined the Commonwealth in the comic. So I'm really curious about what's going to happen. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions, and this preview for next week looks really good as well. So I could not be more hyped as a fan. I'm really looking forward to it. This final 8 episodes have exceeded my expectations so far, and I am ready. I can't wait to see how it ends. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And with that, it's been your boy Shuggy, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.